Hello, everybody. How are you? Oh my God, that's right in my face. I'm gonna have to fix that one. Listen, folks, it's great to see you, and it's great to see me because you've never seen me before, or possibly not. So, listen, I am awful at recording these podcasts and these thoughts, and it's something that I want to do, and something that I'm gonna keep working on. But I thought, you know what? Let's try and relaunch again with a little bit of a rebrand and a face. I have a face, so that's what I'm doing. So, anyway. I'm going to try and record these maybe once a month, try and be a little bit more realistic with my time. But today, I'm actually going to be talking. I'm coming out swinging, but because I'm going to be talking about quite literally a fight that is like so wild, but also so petty, but also actually quite incredibly high stakes if you think about it. That you actually couldn't make it up if you absolutely tried. What I'm going to be talking about today, which is quite still today of recording today on the 26th of July, 2026, is a debate that we have not yet seen the end of yet. That's what I think we're going to be talking about. People are going to be coming back and watching this video, I hope, at least, in a good couple of years' time, and people are still going to be having the same arguments. What is it that I'm talking about? Well, of course, this is the great messy collision of raw data and human creativity. So let me be specific. Right now, if you are an artist or a musician or a graphic designer, I completely forgive you for looking at AI as with a mix of, let's face it, absolute fury, but also a little bit of terror, really. And honestly, that's fair enough. But we are seeing a debate that is raging across the economic and the political and the creative landscape right now about what AI is doing to potentially damage some of these industries. And listen, look at this, look at this. Look, I've got tricks. Keep an eye on this. So this screen that way that we've got behind me, we've got we let's face it, we have authors and artists and musicians who are being granted payouts, legal payouts right now, where these creative, wonderfully creative people are starting to sue these big tech giants. This one in particular, I think, was Anthropic, demanding what they call loon right laws. Now, this is a term I'll be coming back to: loon right laws, basically declaring war on scrapers and the bots and the things that are trawling the internet right now to help train all of their various models. I don't think that's anything to do with it. But so it's quite a bit of a war zone out there at the moment, and these cases are hitting court. $1.5 billion in a copyright settlement against Anthropic. So my question for you today, just a rhetoric question, just to think about it right now, is to think about how does a machine see art in the first place? Do we when we look at a piece of art, even if it's on a computer like we are today, we're looking at pixels on a screen, or are we looking at something way deeper than that? And if we are looking at something deeper, which I'm sure many art fans out there, let me just be very transparent of this. I'm not a massive art fan, but I respect art. And I respect, I respect the hustle, I suppose. But from historical art all the way back to the Renaissance, through to modern art. And let's face it, my eldest son lives in Bristol, so we get to see Banksy's and all that kind of stuff as we're going through. So listen, just before anybody asks me or anything, I'm not an art critic. I don't know a huge amount about art itself. But I do have the capability as a human being, and this is the important point, to be able to look at a piece of art and to feel something, to have that sort of reaction. And the question that we're going to try and sort of cover off today is, can a machine do that? Can a machine look at a piece of art and understand the nuance that has created this particular piece of work? Today I'm going to try and actually go quite microscopic. I'm going to look at how data scientists are using AI almost as an art history detective to solve 400-year-old cold cases, and how artists are actually striking back by using raw data actually as their new paint. So let's press some buttons and let's have a look at some cases. Okay, so wrong way. Check this one out, okay? So this is a real study out of Case Western Reserve University. So when you and I, maybe most of us, look at a classic oil painting, we see color, we see subject, we see possibly emotion, but these absolute madmen in the physics and data science departments looked at a 4-year-old Renaissance painting and said, do you know what? That's not art. That is a 3D elevation map. So, okay, bear me a second if you knew about this. There was a tool that was created and used called a 3D optical profiler. And what it's actually doing is it spent a little bit of time. The science basically is that when an artist like, I don't know, El Greco or Rembrandt pressed a brush to the canvas, what they left was a physical, mechanical signature. Think about this, the thickness of the paint, the speed of their hand, the angle of the wrist, the stiffness of the bristles, the type of hair in the bristles, all of that got frozen in time on a canvas and immortalized into this piece of art. And you might look at this and think, it's art, of course, that's what happens. But when you start looking at it with a physicist's view and a mechanic's view, what we've actually got here is a 400-year-old physical biometric thumbprint. It's almost like the kinetic energy of a dead genius trapped in dried oil. And here's where the data starts to get really actually quite sneaky. So back in the day, master painters didn't really work alone. They had workshops. They had a bunch of very highly skilled apprentices who actually painted almost exactly like their master to churn out more work. So art historians have been arguing for centuries, really. Did Rembrandt paint his face, or was it some 19-year-old intern named Hans do it instead? So the researchers at Case Western University took these microscopic 3D scans and chopped them really nicely into these tiny little patches. We're talking like 5 to 15 millimeters wide, really. You can't see color potentially, you just sort of like looking at it, but it's like a tiny patch of just gray or something like that. But they fed all of these these images, all of these things into the to their convolutional neural network that they called it, and they actually managed to work out 95% accuracy, 95% accuracy on this model of identifying a particular artist having painted a particular painting. There are art students who have been studying for years who cannot look at a single piece of art and accurately, certainly not 95% accurately, identify a particular artist. And unless they know the piece of work for sure, they obviously can't. There's people who can't do it. But this artificial intelligence system was able to do it. The AI, looking at a patch of texture just smaller than a ladybug, knew exactly which artist held the brush. So this leaves us to a bit of an existential crisis, really, because we then need to start asking ourselves, is artistic style some magical, spiritual, human spark? Or actually, is it something highly predictable and mathematically consistent and just a pattern of physical friction? Don't answer that one yet. Don't jump to the comments yet, because I know some of you are going to do this. But it gets even better when we start thinking about how modern artists are starting to use this concept, this mathematical consistency that's captured on canvas. They're using that to their advantage, even. So listen, right. Just before I go any further, let's have a look at the flip side, because we've all seen AI art, and there's lots of big of the tech giants out there at the moment. They're using terms like AI slop, and including, CEOs, CTOs of YouTube are talking about how they want to remove AI videos, or the low value AI videos from their platforms and whatever. I think we've all probably seen them. Hopefully, you know what we're talking about. Like somebody types "cute cat wearing a spacesuit" into a prompt box, and it spits something out that gets uploaded on YouTube. That's pretty acceptable nowadays. That's something that we just accept to see is what I'm expecting. But have a think about what's happening behind me when I just load this image just here. This is real-time generative art. This is generative art that is literally being generated day in and day out by genuine artists, people who have a view, who have an eye for this kind of work, and understand what creates, what makes, what the components are of a valued piece of art. So some modern artists are out there actually starting to treat this data as paint, as their canvases, as their paintbrushes, their equipment. Some of them are taking live weather feeds, global seismic activity, and internet traffic, or even their own heartbeats, and they're feeding that data into custom AI algorithms to create digital sculptures that move, react, change, live. So as for the copyright wars, well, the smart artists of 2026 aren't really trying to ban the tech anymore. What they're trying to do is actually reclaim the code. So what we're seeing is a rise of creative licensing, where artists are saying, listen, if you were to train your models on our creative work, that's fine. But my physical brushstroke patterns, my strum of a guitar, my synthesized work is mine. And if you're actually trying to train your models using it, that's absolutely no problem. But you've got to pay me royalties. In exactly the same way as an artist would have to receive or could claim royalties on music being used in a film or a movie or a TV series or something like that. Yeah, fine, you can use it. Just pay me. And this is what's actually starting to happen now within generative AI. It's like history always rhyming. We like to pretend that math and art are like swore enemies, but this is the big thing. This is the mind-blowing thing. Math and art have actually always been married since day one. Leonardo da Vinci was absolutely obsessed with math. And physics. He wasn't actually just he wasn't just a painter. Everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with some of his greatest works. But he was an inventor. He was a physicist. He was a mechanic as well. Johann Sebastian Bach basically wrote his musical fugues as complex, symmetrical mathematical equations. Let me just throw this thing at you, and I've mentioned this on another podcast. The invention of the camera, despite what some people claimed at the time, didn't kill painting. It actually moved into giving us the movement of Impressionism, because painters suddenly didn't have to worry about capturing reality anymore because a camera did it for them. Art actually moved on as a result of the as a result of the invention of photography that people were going to people were insistent. They were insistent that it was going to kill painting. I forgot to bring this up. This is a very familiar picture, the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci. It's absolutely a massively famous piece of art, and it has very, very deeper meanings, basically, compared to the actual painting itself. Obviously, a very skilled sort of image drawing itself, but the geometry of the human body is what Leonardo da Vinci, what da Vinci was actually trying to highlight here. This is more than just a drawing. It's a mathematical representation of humans, of people. And it's just one of those things that it's like people seem to, this happens so often. This happens so often through history, where a new invention comes along, it threatens a piece of technology, or it threatens something that we've had, a piece of a culture almost. And there will always be people that will say, no, 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 this is evil, this is bad, this must stop. In Leonardo da Vinci's time, it was against God, and therefore the people were demonized and expunged and removed from communities because they dared to adopt this new method. And the possibility is that we're actually seeing this with AI art at the moment. So let me come back to this whole thing. Technology has taken, no doubt about it, a huge leap, a massive leap, which forces humans to be more abstract, to be more experimental, and let's face it, more deeply human. A machine can map a stroke of a brush, it can copy it to the nanometer, and it can guess an artist with up to 95% accuracy. But a machine will never know why we picked up the brush in the first place. So this is my conclusion. The soul of art, whether it's been created traditionally using paint and a paintbrush and a canvas, or whether it has been created via a few prompts and tweaks into an AI engine, the soul of that art isn't in the output. It is in the human intention that is behind it. It's us trying to say, I am here, and this is how I feel right now. So here's a question that I'm putting to you in the comments. You can go to the comments now. So if an algorithm can copy a master's brushstroke right down to the molecule, but a human had to live, struggle, and dream to create the original, which is the one that actually moves you? To both of them? One of them? Which one? Let me know what you think down below. Smash that subscribe button, please. Hit the bell icon. I will be back in about a month, hopefully, on Data with Duke. Bye-bye.